This direct vision is possible only for one who is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness. For the Lord is not possible to see. For the Lord is not possible to see with material eyes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has multifarious eternal forms such as Krishna, Baladev, Shankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, Narayan, Ram, Narasimha, Varaha, and Vamana. And the devotees and the devotee of the Lord knows all those Vishnu forms. A pure devotee becomes attached to one of the eternal forms of the Lord, and the Lord is pleased to appear before him in the form desired. A devotee does not imagine something whimsical about the form of the Lord, nor does he ever think that the Lord is impersonal and can assume a form desired by the non-devotee. The non-devotee has no idea of the form of the Lord, and thus he cannot think of any one of the above-mentioned forms. But whenever a devotee sees the Lord, he sees him in a most beautifully decorated form, accompanied by his constant companion, the goddess of fortune, who is eternally beautiful. Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is the beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautifully decorated with earrings. Om Jana Timrandasya, Jana Jana Shalakaya, Chakshur Anmilitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Panchakalpataribhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, excuse me. This is still Kashyapa Muni speaking. So Kashyapa Muni is informing his wife that even though the offspring we're going to have are going to be demons, but those demons are also going to give birth to a wonderful, topmost devotee of the Lord. And we all read how, even though Mother Diti was informed that her grandson was going to be killed, her son, not the grandson, her son was going to be killed by the Supreme Lord. She was not very much perturbed because she understood that no matter the situation, when the Supreme Lord personally kills, that particular soul gets liberated. So she was happy that after all, her son is going to be delivered. And again, she was comforted that her grandson, that is her son's son, will actually not be a demon. He will be a topmost devotee of the Lord. And he is giving further description of who this son is going to be. He says this son will be able to know the Supreme Lord so much so that he will understand what is within and without. He will understand the Lord within and the Lord without. There are many classes of people who worship God, and they only know of the God within. That is the Lord in the heart, the super soul, which some fortunate yogis can, in their perfection of meditation, can see the Lord in their hearts. And they can also see the Lord in the heart of others. And because they can see the Lord in their heart and the heart of others, they treat everybody beautifully nicely because they know that the Lord is present in all beings. Now, Srila Prabhupada helps to explain the text further by indicating that there are others who also worship God, who are called personalists. They understand that God, the supreme absolute truth, is a person. In the first place, if the definition of God, if the definition of the absolute truth is that that absolute truth is the source of everything, both what we can conceive and what we cannot conceive, what is knowable and what is unknowable. If that supreme absolute truth is the source of all that is, of all that will be, then it will be very insulting to assume that that absolute truth has no personality, has no form. So the Vedic scriptures emphatically tell and educate the world that God is a person, but his person is not easily seen, it's not easily understood, except those who have dedicated themselves to worshiping him as a person. So in the purpose, Prabhupada gave so many different forms of the Lord. He mentioned Krishna, he mentioned Ram, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Varaha, Nrsimha. These are all different forms of the Lord. And as devotees of the Lord who worship God as a person, all these are persons. God assumes different personal forms. And whichever form one becomes very much attached to, then the Supreme Lord will reveal himself in that form to that particular devotee. Now, Srila Prabhupada helped clarify how some impersonalists may use this verse to say that God is everything. You can think of God in any way, in any form, and he will appear to you like that. If you think God is a housefly, he will appear to you as housefly. And so if I think of God as Anadididhanam, then he will appear through Anadididhanam. But that is a very serious fallacy. Srila Prabhupada again explains in the purport that in the first place, the impersonalists do not even accept that God has a personal form. So to again say that I thought of the supreme absolute truth as a person out of my own concoction, and the Lord appeared in that form. It's never true. However, God has unlimited eternal forms, and whichever of these eternal many forms the Supreme Lord has, when one becomes attached to one particular form of the many forms of the Lord, then the Supreme Lord appears to that devotee in that particular form. If I have attachment to the form of the Lord as in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the Lord will appear to me in that form as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's not going to appear to me as Sri Rama Chandra. No, he will appear to me the particular form that I have attachment to. Now, when Krishna appeared on earth and he was with Arjuna, he educated Arjuna because Arjuna was playing with Krishna as friends and peers do. He never thought of Krishna as the Supreme Absolute until the Supreme Lord started speaking to him, and Arjuna started believing that this must be the absolute truth. This must be the God, the Godhead of all beings. When Krishna started speaking, that is when he started to believe. But in order to know, he asked the Supreme Lord, if you are the absolute truth, if you are the supreme absolute truth, then I would want to see that form of yours, which encapsulates everything. And then the Supreme Lord revealed his universal form. And in that universal form, Arjuna saw everything. He saw the universes, he saw the planets, he saw all the different demigods. He saw so many different Brahmans approaching the Lord and offering obeisances with their tens and hundreds and thousands of heads with helmet bowing down before the Lord. And he realized that, yes, from me believing that this young boy standing before me is the Supreme Lord, now I know that, yes, he is the Supreme Lord. So the Supreme Lord appeared as Krishna. And he appeared as Krishna because that was the desire of his pure devotee, Yashoda Mai. That was also the desire of Devaki. And that is why when Krishna appeared in the prison house of Kamsa, where Devaki and Vasudeva were kept, Sri Krishna appeared in his Narayan form. The Narayan form of the Lord has 4 arms. And Devaki prayed to the Lord, I'm happy to have you as my son, but who on earth will ever believe that you are my son? Nobody has ever given birth to a child with 4 arms, with a child fully grown up. It's not possible. Nobody will believe that you are my son. But you promised that you're going to be my son, and I want to see you as my son. Then immediately Krishna assumed a babyish form. So because Devaki was having attachment to the 200 form of the Lord, when the Lord appeared to her in his 400 form, Devaki said, no, that is not what I was asking for. And same as Yashoda, whom we all understand that her position is eternally the being the mother of Krishna, either on this earth planet or whichever planet. When Krishna appears as a son, is the same Yashoda who appears. And that is why Yashoda is the same person who appeared some 560 years ago as Sachi. No one else can play the role of being the mother of Krishna except Yashoda. So when Krishna appeared as Krishna, he appeared that way because that is how Vasudeva Devaki had wanted to see him. That is how Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj had prayed to see him. Because Hiranyakashipu was terrorizing everybody everywhere and getting the boon from Lord Brahma that he cannot be killed this way, cannot be killed that way, cannot be killed by this, by that. It is not like Krishna assumed a form that was not pre-existing. Lord Nrsimhadev form is eternally established in the Vaikuntha planets. So when Krishna had to appear as Nrsimhadev, we saw that even as Sri Prabhupada said in the purport, and as well as Kashyapa himself said in the text, the Supreme Lord with his eternal consort, Lakshmi, even when the Lord appeared as Nrsimha, but the Lakshmi could not approach him. But the Lakshmi was even perturbed. She was frantic. But Bhakta Prahlad, such a very young boy, he approached the Lord. And he actually offered the torn apart intestines of his father and offered the intestines to Lord Nrsimhadev as flower garland. All the demigods were running helter-skelter. They didn't want to see Lord Nrsimhadev, even though they knew that this is their Supreme Lord whom they worship. But lots of them had not seen that form before. And it was, like, excuse me, say, if you ever find a lion that has been wounded trying to fight for his life, that is how Lord Nrsimhadev appeared. He was roaring, and he was ferocious, and he was fearful to each and every one. But Dr. Prahlad was never afraid. He approached the Lord, and he served the Lord. He sang, he praised the Lord. So this is an example of how the Supreme Lord appears to his devotees in a particular form that the devotee is attached to. When Arjuna was with Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Krishna had revealed his universal form to the Lord, to Arjuna, Arjuna came to understand that, yes, God within the hearts of each and every one, God, the universal form, God in his 400 form, and now God is standing here in front of me in 200 form. So Arjuna asked Krishna, you have so many forms. Which of these many forms is most suitable for me as a human being to worship? And Krishna said to him, the most and the best form of myself to be worshipped is this 200 form standing right before you now. So this is from Krishna's Honolulu's mouth, that even though he has so many forms, he has the form of SAHADEV, half man, half lion. He has the Narayan forms, Pradyumna, Shankashan, and Niruddha. All these forms in Vaikuntha. But there is this 200 form of the Lord that is seen in cities and planets like that of Dwaraka, Mathura, Vrindavan, and Krishna is telling Arjuna that the best of the forms to worship is this 200 form. And that's why Arjuna started worshiping Krishna in his 200 form. So therefore, when Krishna revealed the Narayan forms, which is the 400 forms, Arjuna said he was not interested. He was not happy. Just like Devaki was not happy to worship the 400 forms. But the 400 forms are Krishna. And so in Krishna consciousness, in ISKCON, somehow, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami, they're all training us to have affinity, have special attachment to the 200 form of the Lord in the form of Krishna or Lord Chaitanya. Sri Ramachandra also is two armed form of the Lord. However, Sri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis are not very much encouraging the devotees or their followers to have so much attachment to the form of Ramachandra. However, there is more emphasis on the forms of Krishna, Nanda Nandana Krishna, Yashoda Krishna, Devaki Nandan Krishna, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga. Now, someone may ask, if we all came from the spiritual world, that means that we all have a particular form of the Lord that we have attachment to. Then how would I switch or change that attachment for that particular form to another form? That is also answered by Srila Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 4. Getting to the end part of chapter 4 of Nectar of Devotion. Srila Prabhupada explains that in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha planets, one may have attachment to a particular form of the Lord, like the form of Shankarshan. But it does not mean that one cannot have affection for another form of the Lord. Therefore, one may be having the attachment of Shankarshan, but when he sees the form of Govinda and he develops attachment to Govinda, he can travel to the planet of Govinda and serve Govinda in that domain as well. How beautiful it is. Here in this material world, there is so much restrictions. I'm restricted by so many things. Like if the power goes out now, I will not be able to communicate with any of you. That is the restriction. I am sitting here. I cannot be in New York City at the same time. Well, some yogis who have attained perfection in their yogic processes, it is said that they can expand themselves into 8 forms. But those 8 forms will be the same. Like the shirt I'm wearing now, if I should expand, myself, I will look the same with my eyeglasses, with my hat on, and I cannot be doing different things. Whereas the Supreme Lord, and not just the Supreme Lord, but even the pure devotees of the Lord, they can be in one place and expand themselves into different dimensions and be doing many things differently at the same time. For example, Radharani, we all know Radharani is a mother, it's a female. But during Lord Chaitanya's pastime, Radharani appeared, and he appeared in a male form. And that is why I sometimes wonder how, especially if someone is an ISKCON devotee, would want to change his or her sex. You know, in this age, I'm sitting here as a man, I can change to become a woman. Because there is reincarnation, today I'm sitting here as a man. In my next life, if I should be born as a woman, I still may have some remnants of the masculine feeling in me. And so it is undoubtedly a fact that some people may feel that they are in the wrong body, they are in the wrong gender. There is nothing wrong about that feeling because it's a fact. But why do I have to change my sex from what I am now to something that I am feeling strongly within? When I know that when I die, I can be given any form. I might not even have the opportunity to have a human form. I could be given the form of a dog. When I'm given the body of a dog, am I going to say I don't like the dog body, I'm going to change the dog body to a cat body? We cannot. The dogs cannot do that. And so those who do not have knowledge about reincarnation, they may do that. They may want to change their sex. But for a devotee who knows the concept of reincarnation and understand that the body is just a garment and any garment could be awarded to us at any time based on our desires, based on our activities. So based on my desires and activities, I am given this male body, and I'm saying I don't want it. And I'm going to cosmetically and medically change it to the gender that I want. Well, I'm saying to non-devotees, they may have the urge, they may have the feelings of being in the wrong body, so they may want to change. It's okay for them, but that should not be seen amongst devotees because devotees are supposed to be in knowledge. Those who are not in knowledge, who think that this life is the be all and end all, they would want to do whatever they can do in this lifetime to enjoy, and then they die. That is the end of the story. There are so many great scientists who think that when we die, that is the end of the story. When you die, you lost, you finished. But for us as Vedic practitioners, we know that is not the case. Because after all, same science tells us that energy can never be destroyed. And we are energy. Krishna is the energetic. So how can we ever be destroyed? We can never be destroyed. Our bodies get destroyed. And even when our bodies get destroyed, they get transformed into something else. Either the body is decomposed, either the body is burnt, or either the body is eaten by wild animals or wild birds, whichever, we're going to be transformed to earth. And when we get transformed to earth, we're going to help fertilize the earth. So nothing, even gross material body, really goes wasted. We get transformed. So for us as devotees, we understand that God has so many forms, and each and every of these forms of the Lord are equally as perfect as the other. It only depends on affinity to the individual souls. Whichever form we are very much attached to, the Supreme Lord appears in that form. So we all know the pastimes of Krishna, how Krishna appeared. And I shared a little bit of how he appeared in his 400 form, and Devaki said, no, that is not what we prayed for. So for us as devotees, our prayer and our desire is that somehow or other we can see Krishna within our hearts and at the same time see Krishna without. In other words, we're praying that we can see Krishna with our own eyes. And thankfully, because Krishna knows that we want to see him outside of ourselves, and we do not yet have the eyes to see him, he manifests in a form that is visible to our naked eyes. That is the form of the deities. So when we see the deities, especially the deities that have been installed on the altar, sometimes some people say, especially those who are non-Vaishnavas, they think that Krishna enters into the deity. But that is a wrong conception. Krishna does not enter into the deity. The deity is Krishna. The deity is Krishna. As I'm sitting here, God has entered into my body. And therefore, I am different from Krishna. Whereas the deity form of the Lord, the form standing there or sitting there is Krishna, standing or sitting in that form. It is not like Krishna is coming from somewhere to enter into that. So this should be the understanding that because we do not yet have the eyes to see Krishna with our physical eyes, Krishna so mercifully appears before us in its form as the Achavigraha, as the deity. And that is why it is highly, highly, highly recommended that every devotee should worship Krishna in its form as the deity. It could be deity made of jewels, deity made of metal, made of paper, whichever form, as long as it is a deity on the altar, that is Krishna. And when we approach Krishna, and we tell him our problems, he listens to us. There have been so many examples in the past as well as in the present, how Krishna, in his form as a deity, demonstrated that he is not different from his personality as Krishna. So many. In fact, I think I had said this before. There is one devotee, I hope he's still alive and doing well. But in Ghana, this devotee, he had a small place with a small altar, but he was very devoted to worshiping his deities. So one day he was going somewhere, he was running late, so he asked his young son to offer boga to the deities. And just as we read from the scriptures how a young boy was asked by his father to offer boga to the Lord, and the Lord actually physically ate the food. Generally, when the Lord accepts our boga offering, the food that we cook and offer to the Lord accepts. And the Lord accepting means that he appreciates it. And just by accepting it, the food becomes prashadam, becomes the Lord's mercy. Because the Lord, his senses can perform the actions of the other senses. I cannot see with my nose, but the Lord can see with his nose. The Lord can smell with his eyes. So that is the difference between God and the rest of us. So usually, God sees the boga that is being offered, and with the love and devotion behind the preparation and offering, he accepts it. But the food will still be in the plate. But at this time, this young boy went on the altar and he saw that the food was still in the plate. So he went back and then spoke to the deities. And these deities were not even, excuse to say, like metal or jewelry, just paper deities. In other words, photo deities. And he prayed that my father told me that I should give you this food. You have not eaten it, so please eat it. He went back and the bowls were empty. This is right here in Ghana. That this is about 25, 27 years ago, not too long ago. So whatever we read in the scriptures, how different people had different encounters with the Lord, they are still happening. If we live the lives of the devotees who had that association with the Lord, we will have the same association with the Lord in our present time. So the forms of the Lord are not imaginary. And that is why we cannot, in our own minds, imagine something and expect that that imagination is going to be the form of the Lord. There is no speculation in God worship. It is scientific. So God in his multifarious forms can be worshipped, perceived by various devotees due to their affection to a particular form of the Lord. Now, according to the text we just read, when we become serious then the Lord will reveal himself to us even beyond the deity. Just as Prahlad, even though he saw Krishna within his heart, but at the same time, the Lord revealed himself to him, not just in the deity form, but in a personal form as the SAHADEV. And because Sri Prahlad knows the SAHADEV, when he saw that form, he was excited. He was in ecstasy. And I've always been saying that most of us, if not all of us, in the temple room when we have programs, at the end of the program, we chant Nishrimadev pranams. So everybody is familiar with Nishrimadev. I mean, this movie has come out. Everybody is aware of that. But let us imagine that we're chanting the Prema Dwani prayers in the temple room. All devotees have offered their obeisances. And then you get up and you see right in front of you or behind you is Nishrimadev roaring. How many devotees will stay in that temple room? We'll see. I'm sure if I saw that, even if I'm going to stay, I'll run away for a while to re-examine before I stay or not, because I'm not very much familiar with that form of the Lord. The form of the Lord I'm very much familiar with is Krishna in his 200 form, or Lord Chaitanya in his 200 form, not even in his 600 form. Lord Chaitanya also displayed 6-armed form of his. 2 arms representing him, Lord Chaitanya, 2 arms representing Yashodanandana Krishna, and then 2 arms representing Sri Ramachandra. Because, as we read from the scriptures, or we know, when Krishna, the Swayam Bhagavan, appears, all the different incarnations, all the different forms of the Lord also come along with him. So, Lord Chaitanya is Swayam Bhagavan. And because he is Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna was there, Ramchandra was there, and he himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was there. So these are the different forms of the Lord, and they are all equally accessible to each and every single devotee, depending on that particular devotee's attachment to a particular form. So like I said, Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and all our previous acharyas, they are all training and encouraging us to become attached to the forms of the Lord as baby Krishna, Nandanandana Krishna, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And with this training, if even one had previously been attached to another form of the Lord, like Pradyumna, one may start developing attachment to the forms of Krishna or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We also read from the same Srimad Bhagavatam how the 4 Kumaras, they were worshiping Krishna and they were having so much bliss worshiping Krishna within their hearts because they could have communion with the Lord within their hearts. But when they were blessed to smell the tulsi garland from the personal body of Lord Krishna, the fragrance of the garland was so powerful and so enchanting that they lost taste in the Lord within the heart. and started developing so much love for the Lord without. In other words, the person before their eyes in the form of Krishna. Lord Brahma, the most intelligent person in our universe, also glorifies Krishna. And when he glorifies Krishna, he does not glorify Krishna in his 400 form, in his 800 form, multifarious hands or heads. No, he glorifies him in his 200 form, Govindam, Adipurusham, Tamaham, Bajami. So this is the training and education that Sri Krishna himself, Lord Chaitanya, and the previous acharyas are giving to us, that we do not see any difference between the person Krishna and the deity and the scriptures. The Srimad Bhagavatam, which we are discussing, Krishna is not in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. That should be the understanding. Even any other scriptures, any other book is Krishna. I once went out on a book distribution. I was traveling from town to town, and I went to one town, and in the night when I was taking rest, I had some psychic attack. And whenever I tried to close my eyes, I was not asleep, but whenever I tried to close my eyes, I felt somebody was trying to get in bed with me, to lay by my side. And I would try to prevent this individual not to lay in the bed with me, but he still was. So I brought out all the books I had in my Sankirtan bag, and I displayed them all around me. And I laid down, and that was the end of the story. I didn't feel that attack anymore, because Srila Prabhupada and his unimaginable wisdom, almost every book of Hare Krishna movement either has the picture of Krishna or the name, the word Krishna written at the back. So if even there is no photo, the name Krishna, that is also Krishna himself. So when we begin to understand that every paraphernalia of the Lord is not different from the Lord, then we will take very good care of everything that has relationship with the Lord, because they are all forms of the Lord. His name, the books, the deity, none is different from the Lord. And that is why when we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are, Srila Prabhupada explains that when we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we are in touch with the Lord directly, not indirectly. So this is the benefit and the opportunity given us by Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, and those who have been blessed like that, we try to accept and also pass it on to others so they can also become fortunate. With that, I will stop here and see if the devotees may have questions, reflections, comments you may want to ask or you may want to share. You may unmute and do that. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any question? Any comment?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shri Govinda Prabhu. Jai.
Sri Sir, thank you very much. My respectful obeisances to you.
Jai.
Our obeisances to the devotees. Our glory to Gurudev. Our glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
And thank you very much for the presentation. Very deep, very inspiring, and give us a lot of memories. We've been hearing this, but sometimes we forget, and so you bring us back in the fresh awareness of the path that we have taken is so important, and we have to continue to pursue until we get to our destination. So thank you very much. My question is, in Gita 10:10, Sri Krishna says that he was talking about Buddhi Yoga, and he said that those who constantly serve him with devotion, he gave the understanding by which they can come to him. Those who serve him constantly with devotion, he gave the understanding by which they can come to him. So, what is this understanding Lord Krishna is talking about? Because we know that the scriptures are there, and there are scholars who read these scriptures, and they have their own understanding as what is being said in the scriptures. Like, say, we are not the body, we are spirit souls. In my language or in any other language, one understands this. I'm a spirit soul. That's my understanding. Lord Krishna says that if you offer me, like Gita, is it 9:26? Patra Puspam Phalam Toyam Yumi Bhaktiya Prayachate. He said, if you offer me with love and devotion, a leaf, a little flower, or water, I will accept it. So Lord Krishna is saying that if I offer him fruits, water, he will accept it if it is done with love and devotion. So this is my understanding. So therefore, I'm going to do this with this understanding I have. But now Krishna is saying that I will give you the understanding by which you can come to me. So what is this understanding apart from the understanding which is given to us in the scriptures?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your question. And the beautiful verse you quoted, which is Gita 10:10. Let me see if I can put it up here. Gita 10:10. To those, all right. Tesham satata yuktanam, bhajatam pritipurvakam, dadami buddhi yogatam, yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. This is very crucial because there are so many people who know, who have knowledge of so many things, but they do not understand what they know. And so Krishna, again, tries to help us understand this statement mentioned here in 15:15, which is also one of the famous verses in Bhagavad Gita.
I'm seated in everyone's heart.
Yes.
And from here comes knowledge, remembrance.
And here it says, Vedanta krit Veda vid eva chaham. Because everybody is interested in studying the Vedas. It says, I'm seated in everyone's heart. And from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna is helping us understand that everybody is interested in knowledge. And the Vedanta, the Vedas, is an embodiment of knowledge. So throughout the Vedanta, that is why it says Vedanta Krit. Krit, Vedavid, knower of the Vedas. And then Vedanta Krit, the compiler of the Vedanta. So the person who compiled the Vedanta, he knows it all. And that is Krishna. So if one studies the Vedanta, if one studies the Vedas, and does not come to the understanding that Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that person has not yet completed his education. He has not yet completed his studies. When we understand Krishna as Krishna, means that we understand that he is the source of all sources, yet he is causeless. He is sourceless. He has no source. He himself is the source of himself. And all veneration, all devotion must be rendered unto such being. If we do not have this understanding, that is why Lord Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, Krishna himself talks so much about knowledge of the absolute, wherein the Supreme Lord explains that there are some people who worship ghosts, there are some people who worship demigods, there are some people who worship forefathers. They worship this, they worship that. It is all him, but they're doing it without sufficient knowledge. So, just like if I have to say to you to show me your nose, the easiest way, it says, this is my nose. But oftentimes, we want to appear very complicated. So there is one book I read. There was one character in that book called Mr. Micawber. This Mr. Micawber, he was never straight in any of his dealings. You ask him, Mr. Micawber, show me your nose. He wants to appear complicated. So he would take his hand round his head all the way to come to point to his nose. Whereas you do this, your nose is right there. So Krishna is right here before us. Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is so simple that many people will miss it. We say, even Lord Brahma, when he saw Krishna being so simple, the Supreme Lord, whom I adore, I worship with this wonderful, beautiful helmet, full bedecked with jewelries. Now he is walking bare feet in Vrindavan, and even he's eating from his palm, the palm of his hand. That is how Krishna is it. He says, no, this boy cannot be my worshipable Lord. The same thing happened with Indra also. He says, this little boy cannot be the Supreme Lord. But when we come to understand that this little boy, Krishna never looks older than a 16-year-old boy. If this boy is the Supreme Lord, then whatever I need to do, whomever I need to worship, whomever I need to adore, must be this person. So it requires a very selfless devotion from an individual for the Lord to reveal himself to that particular individual that, yes, I am the Supreme Lord. And that is why I always say this. And that is why I oftentimes get crazy when I see or when I find another devotee mistreated. Because it is never easy and simple for a soul to come to accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For someone to accept and act accordingly that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that person is not an ordinary person. No matter the external outlook, the person may be initiated, not initiated, is secondary. The person may be educated, uneducated, secondary. The person may be handsome, ugly looking, secondary. Nothing. As long as one accepts and acts accordingly that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that person is worshipable. So how dare us mistreat a worshipable being? That is why I oftentimes get, excuse me my language, a bit wild whenever I hear or see a devotee mistreated. And when I see devotee doing things not expected of a devotee, I get mad also. And in a sense, I'm protecting myself because I do not want to become that nonsense either today or tomorrow. So when someone is acting stupid and I point it out, then I will remind myself that if I do what that person did, others are going to do to me what I did to that person. I remember one time when, I think I've shared this with you, Govinda Prabhu. Our Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj, wanted me to go to one temple to head the temple. And I don't know how I gathered the courage to tell him what I told him. I told him I will not do it. And I explained myself why I will not do it. So Gurudev wrote back to me, said, I see why you do not want to accept this service. I'm no more going to push you to do it, but remember how you feel about this particular authority. And as such, you do not want to accept this service. That in the future, if you also become an authority, you do not do the same thing to any person. And I wrote back and I thanked him. And I've been keeping this exchange in my heart, that if I have such a position where I have some people under me, I will have to treat them as possibly as I can in such a way that they will feel comfortable serving with me. Talk is cheap. I may sit here and be talking cheaply, but it is something, I mean it. And so for someone to have the understanding that Krishna is the absolute. It's not a very, very little achievement. It's very huge because that is the ultimate. The ultimate of every knowledge is to come to understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Nothing before him, nothing after him. He is the all in all. And that understanding can never come from anybody other than the Supreme Lord. So when someone has this understanding, then he surrenders to Krishna. That is my understanding. We're talking about understanding. That is my understanding to your beautiful question, Shri Govinda Prabhu. And if you have something to add to what I said, make some corrections, please, you may do that as well.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you
Hare
for
Krishna.
the answer, beautiful answer.
Hare Krishna.
So how do you extend this? You know, Krishna said, "Bahunam jamanam ante janavamam paparente." It's not easy, like you said, for one to become a devotee. Krishna said, after many, many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Such great souls, some Mahatmas to do all of such great souls are rare, very rare. Krishna said they are very rare. That means for one to come to the platform or understanding that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and actually surrender to him, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I agree with you 100%. And as the question still remain that even though you've answered the question, but I would like you to extend it to the other religious bodies also. For devotees, we know Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. We know Krishna. We know he has a form, and we cannot serve something that you cannot see or you don't know. You have to know somebody to be able to serve him. You have to have an encounter with somebody before you can understand the person and his need. Devotees are fortunate to have this understanding. And so they are trying their possible best to serve Krishna according to their level of understanding. Now, what about those who have not seen the form of the Lord? Some think God is light, some think God is sound. Some see God in different things. And actually, they are right. That is also an extension, the external energy of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And now, due to the poor fount of knowledge, these people assume or they think and accept that this is God that they are worshiping. And they do that with all their heart. So Krishna is talking about devotion. Serving me with devotion, constantly serving me with devotion. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So these people who have not come to know that Krishna, the blue boy, he looked like this, he looked like that, but they still have strong devotion in what their understanding may be in their area. How does this statement by Krishna connect to those people? In the question of they, giving the understanding for them to come to me.
Yeah. I can't remember the name. Generally, it is a fact that one cannot love someone he or she has never seen. But that is not the absolute truth. There have been few instances in the scriptures where some souls didn't know Krishna. They had never seen Krishna, at least in their earthly pastime, in that form. They had never seen Krishna. But just by hearing the description and the wondrous pastimes of the Lord, they fell in love with Krishna so much. There are others who may not even hear the wondrous pastimes of Lord Krishna as we fortunately do, like Christians, like Muslims in particular, who abhor form designated to the Lord. They think it's haram, it's taboo to assume that God has a form. But they believe that God is the ultimate power. And they believe that God has a spiritual form. Even those like Muslims, Christians, who think that God cannot be seen, they believe that he has a spiritual form that we mundane people with our mundane eyes cannot see, which in effect is true. But the Supreme Lord sometimes appears like he appeared as Krishna. As we read from the scriptures, even when Krishna was walking on the surface of the earth, not everyone who saw him accepted him as Krishna. Not everyone who saw him, even though they saw him, they never accepted that this is Krishna. There are two transcendental activities. There are two activities. One is transcendental, one is mundane. The cowherd boyfriends of Krishna, they never considered Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I listened to one class Amarendra Prabhu gave, and he was saying that many times Krishna's cowherd boyfriends, they will be competing with Krishna. And when Krishna defeats them, they will say, don't think you are powerful. You defeated us because of your father's devotion to Narayan. Your father is so much dedicated to Narayan, and that is where you're getting your powers from. They never considered Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then there are others who saw Krishna like Shishupal. He thought Krishna is just a student, just a rascal boy, you know. So that is mundane. The cowherd boys, that is transcendence. So there are these people who worship God. They do not know the form of God, but they believe that God has a form, and especially Christians, and that is why they address God as their Father. They say Christ is sitting on the right-hand side of the Father. But they believe that with our naked eyes, we cannot see him. So even though they may not see him, but they have so much love for him. And because they have so much love for him, a day will come that the Supreme Lord may, out of his unimaginable mercy, will reveal himself to these people. We cannot do anything to see the Lord. Srila Prabhupada has given this analogy so many times. We cannot see the sun. We only see the sun when the sun decides to come out in the sky. Then we see the sun. When the sun sets in our zone, no matter how much we try to see the sun, we're not going to be able to see the sun. But when the sun comes out, you also, as an individual, will have to make the point to get out of your room to go out to see the sun. If you are so lazy you cannot go out, at least open your window and you see the sun. But to fully embrace the form of the sun, you have to get out of your room. So that also requires some knowledge and understanding. And this knowledge, as we read from 15:15, and then this understanding from 10:10, are all coming from Krishna himself. So why is Krishna giving someone the knowledge to understand and not giving the knowledge to another person to understand? Why is he giving it to others and it's not given to others? It's all based on the individual's intense desire to serve the Lord. I have also said this, in the Christian tradition, there is a saint called Saint Teresa. The Christian tradition, they believe that God has a form. They just don't believe that with our naked eyes we can see that form. But this Saint Teresa, she used to go into trance. And in her trance, you will see the beautiful form of the Lord. And the description, and in fact, the painting of the description of God is just like Gopal. Krishna in his boyish form as a cowherd boy. And in fact, the way they dream, I don't know, it's like complete carbon copy of Krishna, because he has a belt and he has a flute on his side and is standing in the Tribanga form. And these are Christian traditions. And in fact, I once asked our Guru Dev Sonanis Pandita Swami Maharaj that, is it possible that a soul can go back to Godhead without knowing Krishna as we know him as Nanda Nandana Krishna? And Gurudev's answer was yes, it is possible. Because as a matter of fact, we all are originally from the spiritual world. We all know Krishna. It is just a momentary forgetfulness created by the Mahamaya of the Supreme Lord. And once the Mahamaya curtain is taken off, we'll get into our original self, original realization. And when we see Krishna, we remember him that this is Krishna, because the soul always remembers Krishna. So yes, those who do not know Krishna as we know him, they may not have lots of intense remembrance and intense desire to be with him, to serve him, but the possibility is there. The good fortune and higher opportunities we have is that we read all these different pastimes of the Lord. So in times of sorrow, in times of sadness, in times of difficulties, we can reflect on many of such several pastimes of the Lord, and we will take consolation from such pastimes, whereas others may not. In fact, even in the Old Testament, there is also a description where Moses and 20 elders of the Israelites, they saw God. Now, the Bible says no one has ever seen God, but I think that is in Genesis or Exodus, I think Exodus 24, where it says that Moses and the 20 elders of Israel, saw God. And it
77.
Says, is it 27?
77.
So, okay, 77 elders, yes, thank you, 77 elders of Israel. With Moses, they saw God face to face. And the description, it describes the color, which resembles the color of Shamsundra. Because the color looks like sapphire. So God has a form. But even those who say that we cannot see him, they say we cannot see him simply because they say that with our naked eyes we cannot see him, which is a fact. But our fortune is that with our naked eyes, we still can see God in the form of the deity, which unfortunately most of them will not accept. But there are few fortunate ones, when they see the form of the Lord, they may not accept right away, but when they see the form of the Lord, and they are very, very devoted in their hearts, they appreciate the forms of the Lord. You remember Gurudev said that there are three kinds of people that visit the temple. There are those who are very, very pious, and there are those who are not very pious, not very sinful. They are intermediary. And there are those who are very, very sinful. Those who are very pious, they may not know anything about Krishna. But the very moment they see Krishna, they fall in love with Krishna. And so when they go to the temple room and the altar is open, they see the form of the Lord, and they so much appreciate the form of the Lord, and they become overwhelmed. And there are others, they see the form, they don't appreciate the form, they don't hate the form. Those are the intermediaries. And there are those, the altar will be opened, the deities are all there, yet they would not even see the deities on the altar. Can you imagine? Somebody enters in the temple room, the altar is widely opened, still they do not see anything. These people are so sinful, they do not even want to see God. And so God says, if you do not want to see me, even though I'm here, I will not let you see me. So we may not generalize, but just as in our devotional service, there are some worshiping Krishna today. Tomorrow, they will say, I was cheated, I was lied to. This blue boy, this black boy is not God. Meanwhile, this person had been worshiping Krishna for so long, but now he says it's not God. It happens. And there may also come a point in time that somebody who saw the deities and actually blasphemed turns out to become a Paka devotee. So we never know. It all depends on Krishna. We pray. Those who are standing today should be watchful that they do not slip and fall. And that is why they said, he that is down, he needs fear no fall. When we are humble, then there is no way we're going to fall because we're already down. But when we think we're standing, when we think we are better, then we could fall. That is my understanding to your follow-up question, Shri Govinda Prabhu. Thank you so much for these wonderful questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare well. Well, we thank you all devotees. We think we'll bring this to a close, and therefore we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant our Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to the Supreme Lord and the Parampara for giving us this opportunity in all our lifetimes to have access to Krishna and his devotees and have the opportunity to go back home in this lifetime. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Vancha
Vancha
kalpa
kalpa
kripa
Vancha
siddhya
Kalpataruvyascha
Namo
Vaishnavi
Namo
Vaishnava
Namaha.
Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Jai Sriman SAHADEV PRABHU ki.
Hare
Jai.